Hey guys, Helen Hart-Smith here from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. I hope everybody's having a really awesome day. It's Monday here in mid-Michigan and it was pretty good weather today. I'm really excited. In the last couple of weeks, we've had some pretty significant snowstorms that have been, causing people to stay home, and lots of snow that you have to shovel out of and things of that nature. So we had mid-50 weather today. So it was sunny and it was beautiful. So snow is melting from last week. So I'm hoping that maybe we're on the upswing and that spring is springing or whatever. So anyhow, I'm coming to you today with a video with my response for the week 10 question for the 2016 YouTube Pagan Challenge. And I got myself organized today and I made some notes because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yay! So here's hoping I get it all straight. So this week's question is, what do the moon phases mean to you? And I think that for me, it's a pretty poignant question right now because I made a pact with myself, if you want to call it that I've gotten slack in my practice in celebrating the full moons and the moon phases, basically the aspects. Okay. So this year I really wanted to work on making sure that I recognized them and had, rituals for that and things of that nature. And so it's going pretty well. It's only been a couple of months, but hey, that's pretty good. I'm kind of rewriting and creating some rituals for the year, and that's fun because I'm trying to incorporate goddesses that are a part of each specific month. And so I thought that we'll share some of that as we kind of get into things. So the first thing that comes to mind when I think about the moon phases is, of course, how the macrocosm affects the microcosm. The macrocosm as far as the moon's 28-day cycle and how that parallels the microcosm in a woman's cycle. That's, of course, the first thing that I think of. We have our 28-day cycle just as the moon does. And so that's why we associate the goddess with the moon, and the god is associated with the sun. It's not the sole reason, but it's a very important one. So of course that's the first thing that I think of. The moon controls the tides of the oceans. That's another big thing that I think about when I think about the power of the moon. So that's another big thing. So kind of getting into the specific full moons and each of the full moons of each month. Each month has a specific name or two, or sometimes three, as I'll kind of share when I talk specifically about March and its full moon. But each month has a name that's, I'm not sure where it came from. I'm kind of reading about that right now. So if anybody knows, please make a comment because I don't know off the top of my head. But there's also a specific purpose for each full moon. And so for March, the full moon is known as the sap moon. It's also known as the crow moon. It's also known as the seed moon. And I think that two of the three of those are pretty easy to understand how the name came to be. Sap, it's springtime. The sap is going to start running in the maple trees. And if you're from Michigan or anywhere where maple syrup is popular and it's not really milked. I'm not sure what you would harvest. Let's harvest. That's a good word. The maple syrup, that kind of makes sense that March is known as the sap moon. And likewise with the seed moon. This is the time when people are going to start planting their seeds to get them so that they're big enough and strong enough to be planted out in the gardens when the time is right. So, the March, it's the time of the stirring and things like that. So those make sense to me. So likewise, the full moon in March is good for new energy, new energy workings, for growing, as I already talked about, and for learning. So March is a good time, if you've always wanted to learn about gardening, March is a good time to start, learning things. So that's what March moon means to me. Goddesses that are associated with the March full moon, according to my research, is Astarte, the Minerva and Artemis deities. Artemis is the Greek and Minerva is the Roman aspect of the same goddess. And then Luna. And so in my full moon ritual, I will be asking for those goddesses to be in the circle with me for my full moon ritual. Now, as far as the aspects of the moon, the waxing and waning moons are the time. A lot of you are probably going to know about this, but we're going to do some reiterating, okay? So, of course, the waxing moon is the time from the new moon to the full moon when you see more and more of the moon as it goes to the full moon aspect. And that is when the goddess is in her maiden aspect. It's also the time for when you want to do magic to bring things to you. While the waxing moon, which is from the time of the full moon to the new moon, when the sliver gets smaller, so to speak, that is when the goddess is in her crone aspect. And that's when you want to do magic that's pushing things away from you. Let's see. So the new moon is the time for beginning magic. For beginning things. So if you wanted to start learning something new in March, full moon, time for that. But you might want to start some working at the new moon for the beginnings and work your way into that magic. Kind of neat, kind of interesting way to look at things. And, if you're really interested in learning something new and want it to stick, you want to look at those longevity type magic that really kind of help manifest larger goals. The new moon is also the time of the maiden aspect. That's when the maiden aspect will begin, is at that new moon time. And goddesses that are really associated with the new moon are Kore Persephone, Ereshkigal, and Lilith. And then, of course, the full moon is when the goddess is in her mother aspect. The full moon is the height of the witch's power. That's why you see, you get in lessons, you're told, this is the time to do your magics and in things of that nature, because it's the height of our power of the month when we're connected with the mother aspect. And goddesses that are associated with the full moon are Danu and Sierduin, Aphrodite and Isis and Diana. So that's just kind of some thoughts off the top of my head about what the moon phases mean to me. And I guess for that's kind of where that part of my response is ending. But it's kind of funny that this question came up this week because I was speaking with a friend of mine yesterday before I read what this week's question was. And we were talking about the Norse pantheon. He's attracted to Asatru, and we've had some conversations before. And he asked me, because I had told him how I've been kind of feeling a bit of a pull towards more Norse learning that pantheon and things of that nature. And so he actually asked me about the moon and the Norse pantheon and what, how do the Norse people view the moon and things of that nature. And so I started doing some research and learned some things that I didn't know about. So I thought I'd share a quick little thing with you. In the Norse pantheon, it's a little different. In a lot of pantheons, you'll definitely see goddess aspects associated with the moon, and you'll see god aspects that are associated with the sun. But the Norse pantheon is one of those where it's switched, and the sun is actually a goddess figure, and the moon is a god figure. And the sun goddess's name is Sol, S-O-L, and the moon god's name is Mani, M-A-N-I. And these are the children of an individual named Mundilfar. And I'm probably not saying that well and okay, but I tried. But he is their father, and his name means world turner. And I believe that Mundilfar is one of the giants from the the Norse stories. And so the sun and the moon are pulled. It's if you're familiar at all with Greek stories, Greek myths, which I think that's kind of like the most popular form of myths that people across the board know. The sun and moon in Norse mythology are pulled across the sun every day and night, as the case may be, by a chariot and that's drawn by horses. And the horses are so powerful that when they take off from the earth, when they take off, the chariot becomes airborne and is up then in the heavens with either the sun or the moon, whichever one is being pulled by that particular chariot instead of horses. And so prior to the birth of Sol and Mani, the sun and the moon were already being pulled by these chariots and teams of horses. And so the father, Mundilfari, he boasted about how beautiful his children were. And so the gods, you don't want to say too many things to get the gods' attention or, draw attention to yourself or what have you. And so they said, well, okay, they have to be put to work. If they're so beautiful, they have to have a purpose kind of thing. And so Sol then was assigned to go across every day with the sun and to be on that chariot, and she is protected by a force field that the gods established. And I don't remember what the shield is called, but it means cold iron. And so then Mani was then assigned to go with the moon. And so each of the sun and the moon, they are being chased across the sky every day, night, whichever we're talking about, by a giant wolf who is the sons of Fenris, which is the great wolf that will bring about Ragnarok. And so there's two wolves, one that chases the sun and one that chases the moon. And one's name is Skoll, S-K-O-L-L, which means mockery. And the other wolf is called Hati, H-A-T-I, and that means hate. And so they chase the sun and the moon every day / night. And when they catch them, that's supposed to be like the beginning of Ragnarok. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't heard that before. I also found it interesting that Mani has a pair of helpers, and it's in the form of a little boy and a little girl. They're a brother and sister, and their names are Bill and Yuki. And Bill, I thought, was an interesting name to find in Norse mythology. It didn't really sound like any other Norse name that I'd ever heard of before, but I thought that was interesting. And what these helpers do is, as the moon goes across the sky, they pull a curtain, a large black curtain, across the moon, and that is supposed to help hide the moon from the wolf that is chasing it, and therefore that is the explanation for the moon phases. So I thought that that was some interesting information about the moon from the Norse pantheon's perspective. And so that, my friend Neil, is for you specifically. So that is my video response for the week 10 question for the YouTube Pagan Challenge. I hope that everyone out there who first of all, who are filming these, are having as much fun doing it as I am. And I hope that those of us that are watching, because not only am I recording my responses, but I'm watching as well, I hope that we're gaining some perspectives that we might not have had before, learning something, getting to know our fellow YouTubers. And so I really invite some discussion. So if you want to post a comment about any of the information that I presented, I'm really open to that. So please leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. I would love to have you see all my videos and the podcasts that Kathy and I do here. And check out the blog too if you're interested in information in the written form. Different information on the blog than what is presented here on different topics. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next time, thanks for walking a little bit with me, and blessed be.